r/NuclearRevenge. Bratty kid hurts my cat until she fights back. For a quick background, I babysit in my home sometimes as a side job. I have 2 cats and 1 dog. One of my cats is a super sweet tuxedo cat named Bella, and she also works as my personal therapy animal. She would rather run away than confront someone, so not a lot of people who know her often expect her to be capable of exploding into a hellish rage. One kid had to find out the hard way, and as far as I know, he has been respectful of kids since then. This kid, who we'll call SB, spoiled brat, really lives up to his nickname. He was probably one of the worst kids I've had to deal with, and I'm usually pretty relaxed when it comes to babysitting. He was always stealing things, making messes, and throwing tantrums over literally nothing. I'm pretty sure he has some kind of mental disability, but since he was only 6 at the time, I never wanted to voice my concerns. But out of all the things this boy did, whenever he stayed with me, the one thing he knew could push my buttons was hurting my animals. He would pull my cat's tails and ears, kick them, chase them, and I caught him throwing rocks at them more than once. And my poor dog, who had a part-time job visiting kids in hospitals, had to deal with this little terror too. Because of his training, when he got tired of the kid, he just left the house and disappeared up in the woods until he heard the kid's parents arrive and take him away. I felt so bad for Duke, my dog, that I ended up teaching him the time gotta phrase, which is our code for SB is here, so you better go before he sees you. And I would even leave the shed door open, so Duke had a place with water and a bed until the kid left. I had spoken to the parents many times about SB's behavior and how it was unacceptable in my house, and if it continued I would raise my rate, which was already low to begin with, in order to pay for damages and possibly even vet bills. The parents said they would work on this with SB, but every time he came back, there was no obvious progress. One day I had settled SB in for his nap and was working on an online certification class when I heard him get up to use the bathroom. At first I thought nothing of it, since that was normally part of his routine. But what happened 5 minutes later scared the daylights out of me. I hear an ungodly howl from the bathroom, and I'm still not sure if it was Bella or SB that made it. But SB comes running to me, his hands, chest, face, and even his back are scratched and bloody. And Bella comes after him, snarling and spitting in a crazed rage. Her entire body is soaked, right up to her ears. Her eyes are the size of saucers, and her nose, and one of her paws is actually bleeding. I quickly usher Bella into my room, where she takes refuge under my bed. I call my vet and say I have an animal emergency, but I can't take her on the half-mile drive to his office. Luckily he says he can send his assistant, and I hang up and deal with SB's wounds. Of course SB is wailing and screaming, and in a great deal of pain, and I'm doing my best to stay calm and not jump to conclusions, but it's rather difficult not to after how abusive he's been. I just remind myself to tend to his wounds first before I find out what happened, and do my best to stay composed. I'm going to explain really quick that I do have a camera system in my garage where the bathroom is located. From where the camera is, you can see into the bathroom, but you can't see the toilet, so a child can use the bathroom in privacy. My doors have locks, so whenever I babysit the door is rigged to stay open to prevent a child from locking him/herself inside and potentially hurting themselves or causing damage. The camera was actually originally intended to catch any burglars that come into my garage, but it came in handy in this situation as well. At first I didn't think about my hidden camera. I made sure SB was on the couch resting, his wounds dressed, and a glass of milk with painkillers on the table for him. Then I went to the bathroom. The sight that greeted me was even more shocking than SB's wounds and Bella's rage. There was fur all over the bathroom, bloody paw prints on the wall, and blood on the floor too. As I stepped through all this to the sink, I nearly went into a fury myself. The sink, which is about 1.5 feet deep and about 2 feet wide, designed for shops, was almost completely full of steaming hot water, so hot it actually burned my finger when I tested it, and it had cat fur and blood in it, as well as a pair of scissors. I was horrified. I'm not sure what SB was trying to do to my cat, but it was then I remembered my hidden camera, and I rushed to get the footage. As I watched, I became so angry I was tempted to walk out and bend SB over my knee myself. In fact, I wished I could slap that kid silly. but I knew this would be better handled in a court situation where this kid can get the help he seriously needed. The footage showed SB coaxing Bella into the bathroom with a handful of food. After filling the sink almost to the brim, he lunged and grabbed her by the neck, and at this point she's already struggling and clawing him. He forced her head underwater, and in the footage you could see her tail and legs flailing as she tried to escape. Somehow she got free of him, and though I expected her to run at this point, instead she tore into SB like a wild animal. As he tried to grab her and force her back into the sink, she claws his face, tore at his chest, and then raked her way down his back, all the while he's trying to get a hold of her tail. I'm stunned when he grabs a pair of hair trimming scissors off the shelf and runs after her with them. But I think the pain set in because he dropped the scissors, panicked for a moment, threw the scissors in the sink, and ran inside, a furious black cat chasing after him. I made careful note that Bella immediately stopped attacking him once she was out of his grasp and did not touch him after he dropped the scissors and ran inside. The vet's assistant arrived and was as shocked as I was about the situation. She treated Bella gently and gave my cat some mild sedatives while I explained everything that happened. She was angry too, and she said she would happily support me in court with this clear evidence of abuse. Bella had swallowed a lot of water, and one of her claws had actually gotten ripped out in her mad dash through the garage to escape SB. She'd be stressed and jumpy for a very long time, and I prayed this would not affect her job as my therapy animal. The parents were called once everything was somewhat in order, and I didn't even give them a chance to be angry. I told them, pick up your child. I'll see you in court. The court case wasn't even a challenge. With my camera footage and the testimony from the vet and the vet assistant, I won more than enough money. I'm not going to say how much, for damages, vet bills, and an extra month's paycheck, so I could find a new client to work for. In addition, SB would not be allowed to have pets of any kind until he had gone through multiple different stages of therapy for his behavior and would be registered as an animal abuser in case future incidents happened when he became an adult. Some of you might ask why I tolerated it for so long, and mostly it was because all the times I tried to tell the parents to curb his behavior, I was nervous about kicking up dust or causing trouble, and I couldn't afford to drop a client at the time. But after this horrible experience, I will never tolerate such behavior again, regardless of how much I am getting paid to deal with it. As for Bella, she was relatively unaffected by the incident and still remains her sweet and lovable self. She still enjoys having her seasonal baths and will intrude on my privacy whenever she wants. But I hope SB learned a very big lesson. He saw Bella as nothing but prey, and I don't think he ever expected Bella to turn the tables the way she did. I also hope that SB will get his life straight and learn to be respectful to both animals and people. And next time he feels like he can treat an animal like garbage, I hope he'll remember the terrifying rage a seemingly harmless house cat unleashed on him. His parents also had to write a formal apology to me for allowing their son to behave that way, which was an order given by the judge. Reading it was very amusing, because I just knew they hated writing every single word. Edit. A couple people asked for what the apology letter said. I don't remember the entire thing, as I have it filed away in case of need for future reference, but I can sorta remember the general gist of the letter. Now just imagine the parents probably grinding their teeth and trying to refrain from getting themselves into more trouble, and you'll hear the tone of the apology much better. Dear Ms. Not putting my name. We apologize for our son's behavior, and we sincerely hope Bella will recover quickly. His behavior was by no means acceptable, nor was a lack of attempt to prevent it. We also apologize for the damages in your home and the stress this has caused you. We also recognize your tolerance of SB and are sorry you didn't speak out sooner so such an incident could be avoided. We hope both you and your cat will recover and never have to deal with a situation like this again. Our formal apologies and best wishes. Entitled Parents.